Last night, hundreds of people were right here in front of the Arch in downtown Athens to protest the election of Donald Trump. I managed to track down a couple of students to talk about why they specifically are unhappy with their new president.
But we're not talking to our teachers and other students, and just having that conversation with them.
UGA women's basketball will be without head coach Joni Taylor. Find out why, coming up.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College of the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
Good evening and welcome to Grady Newsource. I'm Daniel Vigneault.
And I'm Ariel Mallory.
If you've been outside today in Athens-Clarke County, you can probably see some of it behind us. Chances are you saw the smoke in the air. Kyle Hendricks, Assistant Chief of Athens-Clarke County and a fire marshal, says the smoke, like you can see over Sanford Stadium, is being caused by fires in Northeast Georgia and North Carolina. Winds are pushing the smoke from the fires southward. The smoke should subside overnight, but some smoke will remain in the area tomorrow. Fire Marshal Hendricks says that if you have any respiratory issues, you should try to avoid going outside.
Some of the people who were at the Donald Trump protest in Athens last night expect more to come. Students and citizens came together to stage a protest against his presidency. Many students are still angry over the results of the election. Reporter Cam Gaskins joins us live at the Arch where this protest took place. Cam, what can you tell us about the emotions of the protesters?
Well, Ariel, the emotions and the tensions were very high here at the Arch last night, but today there are still a lot of students who are reeling with the results of the election from last Tuesday. We were able to meet up with a couple of students to talk with them specifically about why they're unhappy with their new president. This was part of the scene that unfolded last night when hundreds of disgruntled people came out in droves to voice their opinions of their newly elected president. And although they might not be protesting today, some students are very much still against the idea of Donald J. Trump sitting in the Oval Office. Dustin Salmons is a political science major at the University of Georgia and is a member of the LGBT community. His biggest concern with Trump's election isn't even Trump himself, but the influence he could have on the Supreme Court, which Salmons believes is a key forum for progressive change.
If we allow for the Supreme Court to swing vastly to the right, there goes that mechanism that we have used to make such huge gains over the past few decades.
Aman Sharinya is a UGA student who practices Islam. His biggest worry about a Trump administration is that Trump's campaign rhetoric regarding Muslims will carry over into the Oval Office.
There are people in our community who are genuinely fearful that in a post-Donald Trump presidency, the rhetoric that he uses and the society that he's creating has a very negative connotation of our community.
There were about 15 officers from the Athens-Clarke County Police Department here on site at the rally last night, and there was one instance where they did have to intervene in an altercation before it escalated into violence. There was a woman who was an anti-Trump supporter who was banging some trash can lids in the face of some pro-Trump supporters, and the police were very quick to get in the middle of that situation to keep it from escalating to a violent state. Reporting live from the UGA Arch in downtown Athens, Cam Gaskins, Grady Newsource.
Thank you for that report, Cam.
While UGA students are joining other groups across the country in protest, they aren't, however, seeking university counseling like students at some other schools. The University of Georgia Health Center says it hasn't yet had students demand professional help from the counseling and psychiatric services. I talked to some students today who shared how they think UGA students are processing their feelings differently.
My goal is to start to teach our community how to become more active and get involved and not wait for our government to always do the right thing. So that's why this meeting is very important.
I spoke to UGA's College of Education Center for Counseling and Personal Evaluation. They said that while they also haven't had any students request counseling concerning the election, they are open to any needs that the students might have.
Students have
Tonight, the Athens Anti-Discrimination Movement will host an open discussion on discrimination. Organizers say they hope to strengthen the Athenian community through conversation and further address the issue of discrimination. The discussion will take place at the Athens-Clarke County Library at 6 p.m. The organizers say there is still work to be done. This event plans to start the conversation from the beginning by defining what discrimination is. They also want to teach people ways to protect their civil rights. Recently, the Athens-Clarke County Commissioners passed an ordinance that addressed the issue of discrimination in downtown Athens. Bars who are found to be discriminatory by the Athens-Clarke County attorney may now risk losing their liquor license. Mocha Johnson says this event is all about educating people.
My goal is to start to teach our community how to become more active and get involved and not wait for our government to always do the right thing. So that's why this meeting is very important.
Johnson says she looks forward to the development of a strong citizens commission customized to fit Athens' character. She says this will be the first of many community discussions hosted by her organization.
UGA is launching the largest fundraising campaign in its history. The Commit to Georgia campaign kickoff began in 2012. It has brought in nearly $650 million to date. Reporter Brittany Johnson explores more about the campaign priorities and how the university says those priorities will continue to help the students, faculty, staff, and alumni at UGA. Brittany, what did you find out today?
Well, Daniel, in the 231 years that UGA has been open, this year's Commit to Georgia campaign was the largest and most comprehensive fundraising campaign event in history, and it focuses on 3 top priorities. If this looks like a celebration to you, that's because it is one. The Commit to Georgia campaign kickoff celebration is a special event that allows the campus and Athens community to learn more about private funding and the university's top 3 priorities.
As you can see behind me, people are all gathered here, students, faculty, staff, and alumni, for one cause: to raise money for UGA.
We don't want students to be in a position of having to make a decision, do I go to the University of Georgia or not, because I can or cannot afford it.
President Jerry Moorhead was enthusiastic about sharing the stage with a few UGA students, but he also made sure to explain how removing financial barriers, enhancing the learning environment, and solving grand challenges are his top 3 priorities.
The top priority of this campaign is to raise private support for scholarships and need-based aid to ensure that academically qualified students have access to a UGA education, regardless of their financial background.
To UGA homecoming queen Ashita Rogers, the generosity of UGA sponsors and donors have made a huge impact in her life.
I have benefited tremendously from private support.
The university says so far, the funds has spent $107 million to award more than 25,000 student scholarships. Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations Kelly Kerner also stressed that the campaign was not at all centered around monetary gain. Instead, it was centered around the impact that it will make on a student's life. Live in the newsroom, I'm Brittany Johnson with Grady Newsource.
Thanks, Brittany. Coming up, reporter Kendall Meisner looks into a new viral video sensation called the Mannequin Challenge and the trend of viral videos.